Hey guys, what's up? What is up? Kuya Jason with Our Life in the Philippines. So the other day I made a video, the 5 tips to building a house in the Philippines, and it was well received. And in the video I asked for anybody to comment any additional tips. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to go over some of those great tips that I received. And then at the very end of the video, I'm going to go over the number 1 tip that I received. So stay tuned for that and let's get into it. Good morning and happy Sunday. A beautiful day in the Philippines. Stay tuned. All right, guys, for those of you that don't know, my wife and I have built a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 110, 115 square meter house here in the Philippines, out in the province. And it was 3.5 million, and that included the wall, the driveway, the carport, the gates. I did provide things such as lights and air cons, bathtub, sinks, a couple things that I supplied that were not included. All right, so tip number 1. What is tip number 1? Tip number 1 is film, film, film. You may not be a professional vlogger. That's okay. If you have a phone with a camera on it, and you should be up there filming every single day. And there's a few reasons for that. Yeah, maybe you want to be famous and you want to put it on YouTube like I did, but no, that's actually not the reason why I filmed the whole process. Originally, I filmed the process so that I could share it with my friends and family back in the States. But then, after I started living here with my wife, we found that, hey, we need to go back to an old video to see where some pipes are laying, or where some water lines are, or where the electric line is. And I did quite a lot of filming. I actually wish I would have done more filming. There were some times when we went on like a vacation while they were building. It took 15 weeks for them to build. So there was a few things that I actually wasn't sure about. And one of those things was some water lines. Where is it? So the main water line coming into the house comes out of our pump, and it comes over, and it should be right here. So my wife was going to put some flowers, and I said, well, hold on a second. We need to find that water line. Well, I just went back on some old videos and I found it. So it really saves some time. So I'll show you another example here. Let me run in the house real quick. So this is our living space, living room / kitchen. And when you install some things, you're going to want to know where electric lines are, such as this beautiful artwork here. When I installed, you do have to put screws, and you want to know where your electric lines are. But as an example, actually, this is a real life example. So the other day, my wife wanted me to install this fire extinguisher, and I said, well, that is directly in line with that electric plug. I bet that wire goes straight down to the floor. So after about 20 minutes of looking at old videos, I found that the electric wire actually goes up into the ceiling. So that saved me some headache. You definitely do not want to drill into a 220 wire. It could definitely kill you. So like I said, water lines, like in the bathroom here. So when I installed this shower, I had no idea where the water lines are, because you could see the water line is right there. and I didn't know if it went up, down, left, right. I didn't know. So I went back and looked at some old videos, and by looking at those videos that I made, I was able to locate the water line and not have any issues with drilling holes, because you're going to be using concrete drill bits a lot to drill through the tile and the concretes. So yeah, that's a very good tip. Video, video, video. All right, next tip. Another question that I got asked a lot was solar. Wouldn't it be better to put solar? Well, I would say that you want to do a couple things prior to building when it comes to solar. And one would be the direction of your house. You may not be able to afford solar right away, like me. I just can't afford it right now. But when I designed the house, when I bought the land, everything, I wanted to make sure that I would have a good location for solar in the future. So what I did was, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So I had my roof built like this at the angles, so that I'll be able to put solar on the back side, also on the front side, and then if I need to, I can put solar on the carport. The carport is actually pretty flat. So what I'm saying is, you're going to want to talk to the builder in advance and let him know that you do plan on putting solar sometime in the future, because they're going to have to build extra supports in the ceiling to make sure that it can withstand the weight of the solar panels. Also, you may want to consider where your connections, your batteries, all that stuff is going to be in the future. I'm not saying you need to put solar right away, but you should think ahead, 10, maybe 5 years ahead, and think, I will do solar, so it's better to be prepared for it. Also, solar, they make solar water tanks, and I'm actually thinking about getting one. So I'd probably put it back here in the back corner, so you can see how the roof is angled. I got 2 roofs up there. So yeah, tip number 2, be prepared for solar, and talk with your contractor about the solar. Speaking of that, the price of electricity in the Philippines is surprisingly high compared to most of the US. Just an example would be Pennsylvania. I think it's 13 cents per kilowatt hour, but they do have the daytime, nighttime. They don't really do that here. 13 cents per kilowatt hour. Here right now it's 11 pesos. Actually, I think it just went down to 10 pesos. So we're talking like 18 cents. 18 cents versus, 13 cents. It's a little bit of a difference, but it is a little bit higher, and not as high as like California, where it's like 35 or 40 cents per kilowatt hour. But yeah, all right, let's move on to tip number 3. Stay tuned. All right, guys, tip number 3 would be septic. You have to understand, when you're building a house in the province, your contractor most likely grew up in the province. Septic tanks and septic systems are just, how do I say, not a priority when it comes to houses out here. So the norm would be like a single or a double stage septic, and they've never even heard of leach beds. So when I built this house, that is my septic. It's pretty large. I had them put an extra large in, so it goes from there all the way over underneath there. It has a main stage, and then it has 2 secondary and a 3rd stage You can see the lids right there. I had them put lids on all sections so that I could always have that sucked out. And then for leach bed, I had a modified leach bed in this whole area here. And what I did was I had them dig a large pit. It was about 5 foot deep. Actually, I'll show some pictures. And then they put gravel, sand, gravel, sand, and then dirt. And then I had screens in between each layer to keep the dirt from going into the gravel, to keep the sand from plugging out the gravel. It was their first time doing a leach bed, so they had no idea what I was talking about. Also, very important, when you do this septic tank, do not have your rainwater and your sinks and your shower running into your septic tank. And it's very common that they'll just put all the pipes together and run everything into your septic tank, unless you tell them specifically, don't do that. I have a buddy, Dave, building a house, and I mentioned to him, hey, make sure that your toilet, only your toilet, is going into your septic. And he asked, well, why not run my sinks or the washing machine? Why not run all that? Because you're using antibacterial soap, and you do not want to kill the bacteria that's in your septic tank. And actually in the US, if you have a septic tank, they made a product, I think it was called Ridex, that you would actually dump the bacteria into your tank. So it's very important that your tank has a lot of bacteria to eat the waste. I'll just say waste. So, yeah, you don't want all that. I did actually run all the drains and the sinks into the leach bed. I thought that it would help keep it clean, but I don't know what it's called, I had a brain fart there. The process of bacteria turning poop into gray water happens in the septic tank, mainly the first stage, and then the second stage are going to be dropouts where your particles will fall, and the water will get cleaner and cleaner as it goes to each stage. I'm not an expert on septic. I just know what my father helped me look up. We did a lot of research on this, and that's what we decided was to do the modified. You don't want to have, if you go into the Philippine province, you're going to see these creeks running through people's properties, and they're gray. And what those are is runoffs from septics. So I have no runoff here. Everything seeps into the ground. So keeps everything nice and clean, smelling fresh. You don't want to come out in the morning, nice sunny day, and you get hit with a smell of feces in your face. So let's move on to the next step, step 4. Tip 4, did I say step? Tip. Somebody commented that I kept saying step. I meant to say tip. Tip number 4 is be careful buying landlocked property. Especially in the province, you'll see a lot of property for sale. You need to make sure that that property has an access road or a right-of-way. An example, so let me zoom out here. When we bought this property, believe it or not, it's actually landlocked. But I had the right-of-way included in the price of the property so that I have a right-of-way that goes all the way up to the main road. Even though we're not using it currently, this road here is not actually a road, it's just a path on the neighbor's property. It's actually his right-of-way, and there's houses back there that were also landlocked, so they're using this guy's right-of-way. And so currently, this right-of-way goes to the main, not a main road, secondary road. So what I do is I just rent this from this neighbor, and we don't have any problems. If something were to happen to that neighbor, if, God forbid, something were to happen, and we lost access to this, at least I have that. I would have to put gravel to bring that road down to our driveway here, but we do have access. I've seen a lot of people, they buy land and it's like out in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, oh, I got such a great deal on this piece of land, but I have no way to access it. Neighbors don't have to give you access, to their land to get to your land. So one, you need to be really good terms with your neighbors. Invite them over for karaoke, bring them some food, whatever. Be friendly with your neighbors. Check on access roads and right-of-ways to the property before you buy it. Definitely do that. All right, guys, I'm going to try to do this tip real quick before my phone overheats. Tip number 5, electricity. When you build a house in the Philippines, they're going to try to talk you into doing 6-gauge wire, 6-gauge aluminum wire. It's cheaper, it's lighter, and it is not enough for a large American-style house with multiple air cons, big screen TVs. I ran into this issue, and I've already had to replace the whole 112 meters of 6-gauge wire with 2-gauge aluminum wire. And now I don't have any issues. I was having issues. I had to turn off all the air cons to run my hot water heater, and it's only a 3 kilowatt, and I have a larger 7 kilowatt. Always had to turn off the lights and all the air cons. I want to show you where the electricity comes in the house. Over here they have 220, 60 hertz. And so this is the larger wire. You got the main wire, which is your power, and then the second one, which is like your neutral. Going into the house, it does have 6-gauge copper wire, which is better than nothing, but I would recommend that you do 2-gauge, either aluminum or copper wire going into your house, and definitely the main wire. The main wire, you want a 2-gauge wire. I was just telling this to a couple other people about issues that we ran into. Because when you're running 2.5 and 3 horse air cons, they do consume a lot of power. So you want as much power as possible. And even though I'm going to eventually be doing solar, for the meantime, for the next year or two, I need this power, so I needed it to be 2-gauge upgraded. All right, I'm gonna go inside, and then we're gonna talk about the bonus tip that I've received. Over 100 of these, so stay tuned for that. All right, guys, I am in my new office here in our house. My wife built me an office for YouTube videos and whatever. So the most common tip that I received was don't. I'm asking for tips. I'm not asking for your opinion. People were saying, you can't own land in the Philippines. No shit, you can't own land. You know who owns it? Your wife. If you don't trust your wife, you shouldn't have got married. So to these people, I had some people saying they're going through a divorce or they got separated. I mean, that's life. Things happen. But to tell other people, to try to discourage other people from living their best life, from living their dream. Man, you guys, here's my tip to you. Leave the West in the West. You're moving to a brand new country. This is not the US. This is not the USA. They got their own president, their own rules and laws. And if you don't like it, don't come over here. You need to be prepared. Things are not going to be the same as the US. You know what else is not the same? The women. The women are not the same as the women in the US. They don't just run off and cheat on you or, find a new man or whatever. These women, if you find a good wife, like I found a great wife, she lived in the province, she had that province mentality, the Filipino mentality that, first of all, there is no divorce in the Philippines. So when you come here, if you plan on getting married in the Philippines, there is no divorce. Some people say, well, you could bring your wife back to the US and divorce her. If that's what you want to do, man, but I personally left the US. I sold everything I owned. I moved to the Philippines. I married my wife. We bought some land. We saved for 5 years to get enough to build this house, paying cash. And I'm happy as a clam. I love the Philippines. I love my wife. We don't have any issues. We have no plans on moving back to the US. I have no plans on, leaving the Philippines. We may go visit, probably go visit my family so she can meet everybody. But if you're gonna make the commitment to come to the Philippines and marry a Filipina girl, you're marrying the whole family, and most of the time they're great. My family is all great. But you need to keep that in mind. Get that West mentality out of your head. You're leaving the West, okay? You're leaving the US. You're coming to the Philippines. So if you can't trust your wife, then why is she in your life? All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the tips. Please leave some comments, and I read every comment. Please subscribe and share the video. Until next time, peace.